everyone. It's amazing to see you all. It is so amazing to see you all at this stellar panel on anti-drag laws and cosplay. When people think of the comic, I'm Jeff Trexler, interim director of the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, and one of the things about our work that many people don't realize, they think of us in terms of comic books, graphic novels, manga, but they don't know that we are actually concerned with all expressions of the comic arts. And before I worked for the Comic Book Legal Defense Fund for 10 years, I was the associate director of the Fashion Law Institute, which is the first ever law school center created to help people in the fashion industry or help people create profession through fashion protect their rights. And one of the issues that we dealt with there was dress code laws. We advised the city of New York on creating the first laws prohibiting sex-specific, gender-specific dress codes that, again, through our help, ended up changing the corporate policy, worldwide corporate policies of dozens of corporations. We've worked with people in the drag community. So when I went to Comic Book Legal Defense Fund, we started seeing these laws that would make it illegal or have certain destructive consequences for the drag community. Of course, I was paying attention, and I realized the ways the laws were worded, they wouldn't just apply to drag artists. They would apply to cosplay. Anybody who was in a garment that was not in accord with what the laws you described as their biological, sexual identity, would then fit into this category. They could be prohibited from performing in libraries. If you had a drag performance anywhere, or even a visual depiction of a drag performance, or if you had a visual drag performance including any sort of non-gender conforming garb, you could go to jail. You could have to register as an adult establishment. So, for example, for all of you here, for some of you who are addressing what people in some states like in Kentucky or Missouri or Pennsylvania or North Dakota or whatever like that, they were going, well, you know, if you're not gender conforming, then any depiction of that or any performance of that makes you in a sexually oriented establishment, and you would have to be subject to the same laws that regulate like strip clubs and things like that.
You're all felons. Every one of you, especially you who is presenting as a bagel.
Which is why, by the way, I am not going to talk as much anymore. I just wanted to give you the setup for where we're going, and I want our wonderful panelists to introduce themselves because we have an amazing group here, and I just wonder if you would all go down the line first and introduce yourself and talk about why this matters to you.
Okay, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna try to be very quick because we only have realistically 45 minutes, which is extraordinarily irritating because I could speak all day. So I'm internationally ignored cosplayer Chad Hatter. Thank you for the lack of applause. The last thing I want to be is ostentatious. So I do lots of different costumes for lots of different people, and I do lots of drag outfits for lots of drag performers. And yesterday I was dressed as a male version of Glinda the Good from Wicked. And according to these laws, I'm a deviant. Which we already knew. But they're absurd and I'm very excited to talk about them. So that's me, and I'm gonna be quiet now.
How in the world do I even follow that? Hi, my name is Logan Allison. I have been cosplaying for about 5 years now. I have the honor of actually getting to collaborate with Chad on a lot of things. So yes, yesterday he was a male version of Glinda the Good, and yesterday I was a male version of Alphabet, which we like to call Alpha Bro. And so yeah, I love to feel wicked. But yeah, really excited to be here today, and so honored to be on this panel. And one of my biggest passions is doing gender bent cosplay. I mean, typically, a character is a character. I don't think gender really matters unless it's integral to the story. But the beauty of cosplay is that it's your interpretation of the character. So anytime that, I'm Belle today, yeah, I'm freaking Belle today. And I grew up in this little town, and I'm sick of it. And why do 6 eggs cost so much?
You grew up in Los Angeles.
So yeah.
You didn't grow up in a small town. You grew up.
Don't ruin my fantasy.
I'm sorry. But yesterday you were also green, which is not how you were biologically.
Why are you ruining my fantasy?
Sorry.
Thank you.
You just complained about following up Chad. Now I have to follow up you, and
Sing out, Louise.
Smile, baby. I'm Kit, they, them. I've been cosplaying since roughly 2003. I am non-binary, so this really does affect those of us in the non-binary community. So Chad asked me to be on this panel, and I'm just following that. I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, but yesterday they were a flying monkey, also not biological or whatever by the conscript of these absurd and incredibly vague laws.
I don't know what you're talking about. I was bored with those wings. You just chopped them off at the end of the day while we were in the hotel room.
I did no such thing as Velcro.
You call it Velcro, I call it attachment to the
I
back.
cannot be held responsible for that.
Come for the panel, stay for the stand-up comedy.
Everyone is so uncomfortable now.
I know.
Anything but boring, this panel. I'm Jen King, served many roles. I'm a board member of the Public Legal Defense Fund. It means a lot to me because I've also been competing at the Masquerade for 24 years or so. You've probably seen me on stage as people like Inigo Montoya and other male characters. You would not know that I have a very sexy male face. Yeah, it means a lot to me.
It's an amazing panel. And by the way, for those of you on the dais, one of the panelists who was the other panelist who was here last year in my place, Professor Susan Kashmiri, who's the president of Fashion Institute, also has testified on this issue. Sends her regards and how much she misses it, because you can see why she would miss this panel so much, because it was really her favorite. It's been her favorite thing about her Comic-Con panels ever. And she wanted to send her regards to everybody here and to everybody in the panel, and how important it is that you are here and you're saying the things you're saying and doing the things you're doing. So thank you so much for that.
I helped.
So we got into this when we started seeing anti-drag bills appear, and we realized the potential of cosplay, and we started doing behind the scenes and also publicly. If you were following the North Dakota drag bill, which eventually passed, but we got some things changed, I actually testified against the anti-drag bill on behalf of the CBLDF. So you win some, they get some compromise on some, and then some you flat out lose. And I'm wondering, just kind of in your approach to things, what sort of effect do you see these laws having on the drag community, the cosplay community? Is there some kind of chilling effect? Is it something people are thinking about? I'd just be interested in hearing.
Okay, I'm gonna go first, and I promise I'll keep it succinct. Anyone who's ever cosplayed, who has a bagel on their head, perhaps, or is carrying their palisman with them, knows that we have to deal with con security all the time, and con security are usually people who have never really been to a convention before. They're a third party that's brought in, and oftentimes you get people on power trips who are like, I get to decide what you bring in and what you don't bring in, or what you wear or don't wear. And so the thought of these laws applying to a rent-a-cop who has decided that he's gonna make everyone's lives miserable that day, like, it is kind of chilling, because we spend lots of time and lots of energy and lots of money on these costumes because they're a portion of our soul, right? Like, if a person was made up of puzzle pieces, there's pieces that are missing. So these characters that we love fill in those pieces. And this is how we relate to ourselves and to others, right? So for these persons who have decided to make drag queens the greatest villain in all of Christendom, which I've worked with Alaska, but that's beside the point. The idea of giving more leniency to people who can decide on the fly what does and doesn't apply, like legal, what is legal or what is illegal, is kind of frightening, because we've been heckled, we've been assaulted, we've dealt with violence before from people because of what we were wearing. And so the idea that something could legally make that happen and the people doing it have nothing to worry about because they're following the law is utterly, utterly terrifying.
jumping in there, I mean, yeah, definitely the fear. Referencing specifically the bill that was coming to pass in Tennessee, you know, they were saying that like, oh, you know, any adult cabaret activity that is potentially within 1,000 feet of a child can then be reported and would technically be illegal. And what it makes me think of is every time, and my cosplayers, tell me if you relate, anytime that you are dressed up and you are taking photos somewhere, and someone comes up to you and goes, oh, is this for a play? And you're like, oh, ha 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 ha. And it made me think of that moment where I was like, oh, now when someone comes up to me and asks, oh, is this costume for a play? Is this photo for a promo for a play? It could actually now be them asking me and actually categorizing what I'm doing and finding out if they can report that or not. Because if I say, oh, like, you know, this is just a personal hobby and whatnot, then they could try and suspect that, oh, I'm lying. But then if I, you know, play along with it and I say, oh, this is for a play, then they're like, well, where is it happening? What's going on? Is it near my children? And it just makes me think of just like, the whole like tattletale aspect and how we're just going backwards and backwards and backwards. And it literally is like, why does cosplay now have to become basically a don't ask, don't tell scenario? And this is me, I jump off the deep end any chance I can get. So I'm like over here like, I'm so grateful to have the privilege of living here in California, but I think of all the wonderful people that I meet at these conventions. Like San Diego Comic-Con is the biggest convention arguably in the world, and there's people from all over, and this is luckily a safe space, but what happens when these people go home? What happens when they go back to their state and these laws are being put into place and they have no control, and then it infects their smaller community? They have maybe made a community within a larger community that doesn't understand them, but now if they're out and they're taking a photo shoot and it just so happens to be at a church, and the church is cool, the pastor's cool, but one person that goes there sees them near a child, and now it's a crime, it's an offense. And all you're doing is like, I was at a Gothic cathedral because Owl House looks really good there. Like, what in the world?
Yeah, the Hooters is perfectly acceptable. You'll see children at Hooters and no one cares.
No.
Sorry, I'm bitter. What? No, it's your next. Unless you can pass if you want. Yep.
I'll just slide the microphone over.
I think part of what's happened is that, you know, cosplay and the community of drag has always been kind of insular, right? And now it's out into the public, and part of the challenge is to get people to understand what those communities are about and why we do what we do. For them, on the outside, they're like, it must be something always sexual about it. But for most of us, that has nothing to do with what we're doing. It is, we love the characters we're trying to portray very, very much. We want to show our skill level in saying, I'm going to take something that only exists on a screen, never was intended to be a physical costume, but let me show you what I can do and make that reality. So it's like, they're going to, if this continues, it's potentially people that are the next big designers out there will be quashed for fear of being in trouble for using their skill, showing off their skills.
It's interesting that you mentioned that because Claire Voyance, who was on this panel last year, but didn't want to come this year because noon is too early. Because the drag queen in the wild only has a few natural predators, and one of them is anything ending in AM. But whenever she lives like a bazillion miles away from me, so whenever I do a costume for her and we do a fitting, we always will meet in the middle somewhere, and it's usually in a Denny's parking lot. But it's hysterical because we do these fittings and Claire shows up as Garrett. And not doing it. We're not doing anything wrong, but both of us are like terrified to be in a Denny's parking lot putting on a dress. We're looking over our shoulders and we're literally scared. We're in California, so we're sort of safer, but it is a little terrifying when you see, like, I drove through Temecula the other day. Don't recommend it. However, there's a coffee shop there. It's Annie's. Highly recommend it. Very good. Ask for Priscilla. Unrelated, unpaid promotion. But anyway, just the amount of there was a whole cadre of people on a street corner holding rainbow signs, and I was like, neat. And then as I got closer, they're saying stuff like transgenderism mutilates children, it's evil, honk if you agree. Marriage is one man, one woman, honk if you agree. One woman had a shirt that said no men in wigs. So, sorry if that's how God made me, but God was wrong. Sometimes I want to have a 2-foot wig so I can be closer to God. But anyway, you see that, and that's happening just like a stone's throw away from pride events, from places that are supposed to be safe. And are the protesters here? Has anybody seen them? Are there any out? There are. It would be you, right? Hex them for us, you know. But anyway, like, I do the Trunchbull from Matilda. That's one of the characters I do, and I was gonna do her today, but I couldn't be bothered. And I would love to see someone try to take down a 6'8" bull of a woman like the Trunchbull. But it is a little terrifying. It's incredibly terrifying because everything is, it's as if these laws are designed to be interpreted by the right people. And that's an even more chilling thought. Belle, thank you. She's sitting here nodding and snapping like you're giving me life. Keep doing it.
She left that little town and she never lived
This is happening.
Speak into the mic.
Oh, this is happening thinking so many things in relation to what we've been doing over the past couple of years. One of which is, I agree with the point about the impact of these laws, or even the prospect of these laws, on conventions and libraries and local communities where there may be other places in local communities where we drag, your regular theater in New York. Drag is everywhere in New York City. It is not limited to special places, and it basically turns all of them into adult establishments and subject to regulation and that sort of thing. And we have people trying to pass laws like this in New York. You know, it's not just Mississippi and Louisiana, or it's everywhere. And the idea is not so much to have a foolproof case, an ironclad case, but to just make people scared. Make people be very risk. They know businesses are risk avoidant. Lawyers are notoriously risk avoidant, and they're going to be telling your guards not to let these in if there's a law in that state. So I'm wondering, we just had this point that you're saying this is not sexual. A lot of this is not, you know, what they're saying it is, right? What would you say? The argument we hear literally everywhere, which is that, you know, any exposure to children of any difference from biological sex is inherently harming their mental health by making them question their identity and things like that. We are hearing this in every state, which is why I wasn't able to do it today, but I've been working with some psychiatrists and some psychiatric organizations to do some stuff. But I'm just curious, I mean, how does that, to me it's a very offensive argument, how does that affect you, and how would you respond to it in defending that?
Okay.
Help me help you.
So, who here has seen a movie called To Wong Foo? Thanks for everything, Julie. Okay, good. Thank you. I saw that movie when I was 7, I think. I was just a wee little babe, just a little queerling running around. I was already gay by that point, because anyone who understands how this works. But the movie, nothing about that movie was confusing to me. As a child, I watched it and I was like, cool, this is a thing that people do. Now I'm gonna go steal cookies. Like, I thought that would get a bigger laugh. But it's an absurd argument, because the logical the fallacy that is presented is, oh, if young people, first of all, straight is not the default, so I don't know why they insist on that. That is absurd. But second, I will pause for effect. And now I will pause for one really good photo op. But yeah, it's an asinine assumption. I grew up watching only hetero relationships presented in all media, and I am still attracted to large bearded men. So that argument is asinine from the jump. It doesn't make any sense. And also, and this is my favorite thing to counter that with, okay, so you're afraid your kids might be gay. Who cares? Why do you care that much? Why are you acting like that is the worst possible thing in the world to be? Because I got news for you. Anyone who has seen an episode of To Catch a Predator knows there are no drag queens in that show, ever. They're like, I mean, it's just, but the problem with these people is they love to be like, no. Like, we're the best people in these drag queens. They're not good people, okay? They're bad, they're drag. I'm really fired up. This like incenses me.
Give it a try, please.
Well, no, but my whole thing is you are presented male today, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but you're also dressed, even though you're completely covered up, you're entirely clad in black leather, right? So could someone look at Loki and be like, that's inherently sexual because it's black leather from head to toe? Like, that's an entirely nebulous thing. Anyway, I'm sorry, I derailed this. The question is, how do you respond to, what was the question?
Oh, by the way, speaking of this, any questions that you have, please come to the mic because I want you to ask them. I love participation in these things. Please do not be afraid. Come to the mic, ask anything you like on this topic. But how would you, and you can start doing that now. It'd be great.
Or else.
Or else, right? That's it. I will talk to the legislators in Tennessee and California. We're going to get you. How would you respond to this?
That was terrifying.
That was my right-wing lawyer drag.
Oh, of course.
So the question was, one of the things we are encountering across the country is this argument. It's for graphic novels, depictions like drama, Raina Telgemeyer's drama. We're doing a signing with Raina Telgemeier on noon on Sunday. Wristbands available at the next panel that we're doing in this very room for the CBLDF. Because there's a depiction of in the drama club in a dress that's considered to be harmful to the mental health of minors and inherently sexual, that they've got to get rid of that. And that same argument is now being applied to cosplay and to drag. And how do you respond to that? I mean, because these are the arguments we have to make every day, and I'm kind of interested in hearing from the perspective of the community, what do you respond to that? Because I'm working with psychiatrists and other people to refute it. But I really want to hear organically what's happening.
I mean, immediate response, tip your queens, tip your kings, tip your drag performers, go out and support. It's also crazy to think of like, in the context of everything that once was and now comes to play after, like, you think of like RuPaul's Drag Race and how much it has shaped pop culture and how it every single year is just racking up those Emmys. And then it's like, okay, so now if we pass this law, does it affect your entertainment? Because most of you are watching that show too. Most of you probably won't admit it. I mean, I don't know if everyone saw that Grindr had a huge blackout during the Republican National Convention. And,
it crashed the app.
And Grindr actually issued a statement and was like, yes, every year, this is our Super Bowl. Like, we know this is when our app is the most needed. So again, as kind of what Chad said, it's so interesting that when it applies to them, when it applies and it actually affects their lives, suddenly they're silent, suddenly the answer is no, suddenly we walk away. And something else I want to bring up that I think is like very interesting here is like, okay, so then let's look at the all-American classic nuclear family. And you know, the husband is supposed to go to work, he's supposed to provide. And the mother is supposed to stay home and is supposed to raise the children. But then, if the mother raises a queer child, suddenly there's a problem. I'm sorry, I thought this system was foolproof. I thought that's why you were fighting for it so much. And I'm somebody who was raised by, who was my hero, my mother. And I always say that I was raised by a witch and a princess because she literally like showed me Disney movies, horror movies when I was 5. She's the whole reason I am the way I am. And I wouldn't change a single thing about her and I wouldn't change a single thing about me. And
We wouldn't either. For the record.
And I think of this and I look at this and I'm like, so according to your system, my mother failed. According to this, you're saying that even though I grew up in a nuclear family and my parents are straight and I'm fortunate enough that they are still together and they love each other and they fight to stay together and I have a brother and my brother's masculine, either my mom failed me or I'm the failure in your system, and then God forbid I'm a drag queen. Like, what in the world? And then I think of like, okay, again, I'm so fortunate that I'm living here in California, but then I think of all the nightclub performers that are around the whole US who are going back to RuPaul's Drag Race, who are submitting tapes every single year, hoping so they can, a la Chapel Rome, get out of Missouri and, get there and take me back to California. And now I'm just ranting, but it's this endless cycle where it's like you just want to stunt people and like what you were saying, stunting young creatives, and so that we'll never see the next great drag performer in our time, or the next great fashion designer. We are never going to get the next Sasha Colby. And so it's just insane to see that they want to control the system so much, but they haven't done any of the work to justify that their system is correct.
That was so good.
She used to do PR.
Kit, you can come, or do you want to go to the next question?
Go to the question.
All right.
Sorry.
I just want real quick. I would like a round of applause for Kit for doing this. But you look so good. Anyway, please go to the next question. I'm sorry.
Hi.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if this is working.
It is. Just come a little closer to it.
Hello.
There you go.
I feel like a lot of the panic that is kind of happening in communities over LGBTQ people in general is kind of regressing back to the fear and panic during the HIV and AIDS crisis. How would you guys think is a good way to organize and educate, especially younger people, about that crisis? Because I feel like it's not taught, it is not anything that people even know about under a certain age. How can we organize and educate younger generations so that they feel more empowered and can fight and organize within their communities as well?
The biggest thing is the biggest fight within your question is the stigma around it. And as a person who grew up in a small town of like 3,000 people, the sexual education that I got was non-existent. And I'm a person who had to fight that exact same stigma within myself, especially when I moved to a big city, because literally all I got every single day for an hour was, if you touch another person, you will die, and that's it. And there's so much information that is available online. I highly recommend everyone follow and share from the AIDS Memorial on Instagram, because they're a great resource for information and for spreading awareness and for also just getting stories out, because what is remembered lives, and those who are remembered live. And it's all about getting the information out and finding those resources within. Like, where are you based out of? Where are you from originally? And you also don't have to tell me that.
That's okay. I'm from Colorado, but when I moved here, my minor was in LGBTQ studies. Are you from Colorado?
Yes. What part are you from?
Castle Rock.
Oh my God! My grandparents lived in. I'm from Lahana, which is down by Pueblo. I know.
We still had the education that was like girls in one room, boys in one other thing. Nobody touch each other because you'll get pregnant and die. Like, that was our education. So it wasn't like I had to move to California and I had to get a minor in LGBTQ studies, which I was lucky to have at the university I went to. That is how I learned about the HIV and AIDS crisis, which is why I asked, because I think the panic is regressing back to that part. So yeah, I was lucky to come out and be here. I just want to be able to educate those who have no idea how important it is also.
Yeah, get the information out, make it aware, and educate yourselves as much as you can, so that if somebody has questions, you can help them, or if nothing else, point them in the right direction of those resources. That's the advice that I've got.
Just want to say thank you, because you are the first step. Like, you going and pursuing an education, and yes, absolutely. You going specifically think of, and you would be the perfect person and place to do this, where you can share actual queer history on social media and do it in a way that's not like pounding people down and and getting it and just like bogging people down in just so much too much information. Because I think of during Pride Month every year, the month where we exist, we're fed, this year at the Target sale, come and get your, rainbow shirt that, 10% of proceeds benefits it, but then, 90% blah, 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 blah. Or we're getting violent imagery of trans people, crimes committed against them in other states and in other places, all around the country. But there's no actual, it's so rare to see a post that celebrates something like Stonewall and isn't just a flowery post about it. Yeah. Nothing ever goes more than skin deep. It's remember the brick.
Yes,
And that's it. And you're okay, who threw the brick? What happened? Who is Marsha P. Johnson? Can you explain it a little bit more? Or the beautiful image of her, we get her with the flower crown, and then it's just Marsha.
She did it and it's done now.
Exactly, we did it, it's done, and we're moving on. Oh, thank you. I know, probably so green on
you're good,
yesterday.
you're good.
The life of a witch. But yeah, and so you doing that, and I recommend to everyone who has social media, you sharing anything, your friends see it, it starts a dialogue. The amount of people that are going to be your friends and neighbors that are probably, even if they don't say it aloud, are then going to think about it and bring it to their spouse, bring it to their family. Oh, I saw this thing today. There is nothing stronger than the power of words, and social media is the way that we electronically share that. So, amen to you.
I think they've said everything I was going to say, so.
We're giving you the next one.
Yeah.
You're doing the next one.
Yeah.
I didn't tell to wake enough for this.
I know, last night was rough. We're rooming together. Anyway, thank you.
And I also particularly want to thank you because you gave me an idea for CBLDF program. And so I won't get into it. But one recommendation I have for you in education is think of it sideways. I love the connection to AIDS. How many of you seen the Jellicle Ball in New York City, which transforms the Andrew Lloyd Webber musical Cats into the ballroom culture in the 1980s and also links into the AIDS crisis?
It's phenomenal. It made it better.
Cats suddenly makes sense.
Yes.
Little did you know that you needed the cats to be voguing and go, Jerry, the
And I think one of the most important educational programs over the next decades is when they license that as a 1-hour high school production like they do for the regular thing, because you're going to see that become the most popular musical in high schools in the United States. I got it pretty.
What was the name again? I'm sorry.
The Jellicle Ball. Cats, the Jellicle Ball. It's in New York. It is spectacular. And it's profoundly moving too. It's amazing.
Tons of their videos are on TikTok. If you look it up, they've already started posting things to advertise it, so you can find it pretty easy.
Hi. I know in some of the legislatures they were trying to pass in, I forget which state, I feel like I should know that, they were trying to define in the drag bans what a drag queen was as man or woman impersonators, which is incredibly vague and terrible wording. And I always thought that because it's that vague, how broad could that definition get and how many people could be affected by this? Not just people in drag, not just people in cosplay, but even just people who are wearing alternative clothing.
So Logan enjoys wearing pearls. That's just a thing that is part of his fashion choices. And it, again, that I think goes back to depending on who's choosing to enforce what law. You know what I mean? A person wearing pearls could be, someone could make the argument of, well, that's a feminine trait, blah, blah, blah. You're presenting female and you're not. Women aren't in the home anymore.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, even not to go on about more of my jewelry, but a couple years ago, padlock necklaces came back into fashion, and I started wearing one, and I started receiving like looks, and people were like thinking that I was like, you know, having kink wear on display, and I was like, this was purchased from ASOS. It is fake. There is not even a place for a key to go inside of it. This is literally it. And I think of like, you know, actual drag queen, you know, Elvira, and I think of anyone who, yeah, like you mentioned, who dresses alternatively, who then, you know, maybe even like, is it to say that like, is anyone that even like alters their body? Like if people go and get plastic surgery of some sort, if that makes someone uncomfortable, could they then report that and be like, this person isn't a real X? And they're like, no, I've been X since I was born. I identified as X since I was born. And they're like, well, you went under the knife and you changed something about you, and I know that that isn't real. And it's like, who are you to judge what someone has done with their body to live their truth? So it's terrifying. And I know that doesn't super answer your question, because it's like, it's what this is here for, right? Is we're all ruminating on this because we all want to protect one another. And I think that's the thing, is like giving each other the support to dress and to communicate our true selves in the way that we want to, and supporting each other and whatnot. That's the most important thing we can do, and that's the biggest fight that we can have. But it's going to constantly be a battle of just keeping that open in the back of our mind of, if these laws are passed, then that this is something. It's like kind of what I was relating to earlier with the like, oh, are you in a play? Where it becomes devious because it's just one person's thought that, I really don't like Genshin Impact, so I'm literally gonna like, oh, I got you. Fought you the minute you walked in. But like, I was like, I love Genshin. But like, if they're like, oh, you know, that's not their real hair color, like, and then that's where it begins, and that's terrifying.
The thing that I just can't fathom is also like, oh, are you in a play? It's none of your business why I'm dressed like this. I'm doing this for me, not for you. Like this, me being dressed a certain way, if you perceive it as a novelty, does not give you permission to approach me, to touch me, or even to talk to me, and I don't owe you anything. And so these laws are kind of absurd, because if someone was to walk up and be like, oh my God, are you a drag queen? Zac Efron meme, like, sorry, we're running out of time, so I think we need to jump to the next person if we're gonna get through this line.
And we're gonna get, you Kit did this.
I know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was enjoying that.
Okay.
I'm from Ohio, so like we have a sign that says hell is real, so like you get it, right?
Yeah.
And I worry that like we'll just stop having anime cons, because like in anime con, if there's one kid there, oh my God, I mean, have you seen JoJo? Like it doesn't matter what you were born with, if you got JoJo outfit on. So like, do we know if they're gonna just stop giving us those places to go? Like, oh, and also, I do a lot of advocacy, and I spend a lot of time at the State House, and I'm just begging everyone, please, vote local, because I'm tired of seeing these people, and they're not affordable, and it's like, they've been playing this long game, and they have like put themselves into these places, and we need to get them out, because I am very, very tired of this. And I'm also non-binary, and I try to cosplay non-binary people, like Leeko, who doesn't even have a gender.
I was going to say, I love Toronto, because are we dead or are we in Ohio? Yeah. Like Animaniacs.
Yeah. But like, do we know if they're gonna stop having, like, if venues are gonna not give us a space? Like, you know, like, because there's several anime cons that happen in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio, obviously, like a big city. But like, how do we know that they're not just gonna be like, I don't think we can do that event anymore? Because like, you know, one person's gonna show up dressed up like, one person assigned male at birth is gonna show up dressed up like a maid, and the world is gonna collapse. Like, you know, is there any word?
No, just because with you, but I had that exact same fear, especially when they were trying to do things in Florida. And it's like, are they going to start asking us for our IDs and seeing what we're dressed as, what our ID says?
Yeah, and also, I work at a Halloween store, and this year, everything has become separated. There used to be like, these are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle boy outfits, and then we'll put one one dress that a girl could wear, but we used to put them in the same area, and now they have to be on the other side of the store. Like, there's a girl section, a miscellaneous humor section, and then a boys section, but like, if it's a dress, you gotta put it on the other side of the store, and I'm like, what the hell is this, like?
So I'm gonna jump in if I can, but can I? Okay, so one of my favorite things to say is, hell hath no fury like a homosexual mildly inconvenienced. So even if they were to try to take those things away, you know, pride did not end with don't ask, don't tell. So the system is simple. If they try to take it away, don't let them. You know, you simply existing is an act of defiance.
But the people who, the hotel that hosts it.
Darling, we have a line. Stay and we will chat more. I want to ask you a question about Ohio.
Hiya. Do you guys think that media illiteracy contributes to the ignorance that kind of people like, boys and girls,
Yes.
keep it fun?
I think that there's a lot of news outlets, Fox, who go out of their way to present to a very specific demographic and who go out of their way to present very cherry-picked incidents of things to make an isolated incident feel like a massive pandemic of an incident while simultaneously ignoring actual pandemics. So yeah, I would say media literacy is an absolute problem because, and yes is the answer.
I'm from Nebraska, Western Nebraska, so the Colorado thing, all of this stuff that's happening, yeah, I get it. So speaking of like anime conventions, what about cosplay specific ones that have kind of started changing to just cosplay? Holiday Matsuri, for example, which is in Orlando. Do we think that those like are gonna be canceled now, even though they're like tradition in the con scene?
I think money talks. So I think there will be a definite conversation that would be had because like, I think of the example of like, okay, when Disney World was actually hosting, I forget the name of the actual convention, but they were hosting a large queer convention. It was right during the whole Ron DeSantis attack on it. And because Disney World is basically its own sovereign state, you know, they were like, this is our big to Ron and we're gonna keep doing this and whatnot. And so I think it will be a thing where it is up to kind of what you were getting on with about like the hotels. It will then become this choice where does the host, does the convention center, does the hotel, does the town want the money from that convention that bad that they're willing to take the risk, or will they be so afraid that they want to comply with the law? And then I could see a world where we have to go back to basically like where cons and things go back to a smaller scale, and it's the community that's rallying together and putting it together, and you know, fan clubs back on the rise. My hope is that we can flip it and reverse it and let money speak in such a way that they'll be like, no, this has been established for years. This is a tradition in this town. This is a tradition for these people. Also, my God, this stimulates our economy. We can't lose it. And I know that's not a definitive answer, but I think it is going to be a step-by-step process with that, where it is going to be the debate of money versus principle of the host of the event. Because I think the event organizers are always going to try and have it happen because, again, money talks, you know. They love and they celebrate it and they're so happy to, you know, at least event organizers that I've met in the past, you know, are so happy to provide the safe space for folks, but at the same time, they are so jazzed for that paycheck. So hopefully, capitalism works in our favor.
Hi, thanks for being here. I've changed my question about 100 times, but the basic question, first of all, I wanted to echo what one of the original questions people said is, please look up your voting. In San Diego, there's the San Diego County Bar Association. There may be associations like that in other contingencies, so you can look up who you're actually voting for because it matters who those judges are. The question is really, how do I talk to my parents, yes, my parents, about sex versus gender? Because it does seem like a lot of the laws and things are based on this faux concern about sexual violence, which sexual violence is a real thing. So there's this sort of faux concern and then not real concern when there's actual sexual violence. But then talking about gender and sex is two different things. Is there a way that I can explain that to them, something I can point them to? I've talked and they're kind of still looking at me with blank faces.
There's some really helpful graphic novels that they put out that explain that very clearly for people that don't have, like close to them, that they feel comfortable asking those questions because they are embarrassed that they don't understand. Like, to me, my experience, it sometimes is very individual about how people identify, maybe about who they're attracted to, how they feel inside, those kinds of things. It helps a lot. I wish I could remember
There's a Prism Comics booth.
Prism Comics?
Oh, there, yes.
Comics booth has all those books and the zines and all those things.
Thank you so much. I'll look it up and look it up.
Also, I just want to make one quick point, and this is not meant to advocate violence, what I'm about to say. Logan and I have a sit back down. Logan and I have a mutual friend who is in her 70s, who we adore, who is very old school, and she's a bit of a stick in the mud, and she's great, but every now and then she finds these things confusing, and she will get her dander up and ask a question, and I got tired of trying to explain, so I reached a point where I turned around and I said, you know, it may not, maybe you're not supposed to understand it. It's not you. Not everything is for you. Not everything is meant to be understood by you. Because, like, she asked me a question, she's like, well, if you're gonna be a male version of Glinda, why aren't you just doing Glinda? And I went, 'cause I like having a beard. But I simply, this thing doesn't come in patchy, it's a gift. But there's a movie called The Slipper and the Rose, which is a retelling of Cinderella. It's fabulous if you haven't seen it. But there's a moment in it where, you know, Cinderella's gone through this transformation and she says to the fairy godmother, I don't understand any of this. And the fairy godmother says, you're not meant to understand it, you're meant to accept it graciously. And so that's what I've started saying to people is, you know, you don't have to understand it. If it doesn't make sense to you, maybe it's not supposed to make sense to you. It's their life, it's my life, and it's now or never. Did you get it? The three of you who got it, thank you.
So, I had fun with this law and writing about it. And it was simply this, my experience. I was 7 the first time I did drag, and I was not the one who put me in drag. It was my teacher at the time in 2nd grade. We were trying to understand slavery, and I had to portray, understand this, I am a short, full-blooded Native American woman, and I'm having to portray a white, older male slave. Catcher. And I am on school on the reservation. That is the first time I had to basically perform in drag, the opposite gender and a completely different race, in order to understand the concept of slavery in the 2nd grade or in history class. And taking away, and these laws will take away that level of education that we are demanding from teachers.
I mean, you just cracked open the whole thing, because then it's like, okay, so then is children's theater also then attacked? You know, I mean, how many schools have far more femme-identifying students and, you know, gotta pick a musical? I'm using a far lighter example than what you did, and, you know, gotta pick a musical that can, you know, host all these students, but then, you know, 1 or 2 of them will end up having to play male-identifying roles. And so then it's like, well, okay, then is that in question? Then for education purposes, you know, anytime you use an example, like what your teacher did with you, having the kids experience it firsthand by like, oh yes, like, look at the things that like your friend is saying and doing to help understand how awful it was during that time and how awful this scenario was. Isn't it crazy to think that during this time that people were doing this, now that you see that your friend is doing it and portraying it, and that's obviously an incredible educational tool. And so taking that away from teachers where they can't even have the possibility of that, they can't even quite literally play in a classroom, is detrimental. So thank you for bringing that forward, because, oh my gosh, that's like a whole nother, we're just keep like, it's like an onion in here. We're just like going through the layers right now. Like,
we just have a few more minutes left. And I'd be great, I think it's a great question, a great comment. We just have a few more minutes left, and I want to have, if the next two questioners could ask their questions really quickly, and then we're going to have a party word. And I know have a nice, I want you to think about this. My last question to you all for the lightning round at the end is, what's your encouraging word to the audience about this topic? Can you think of something sort of positive about the future and sort of our prospects for prevailing over this? Because I honestly believe that you will. So if you could each just ask your question, and then we'll have that.
I was on Facebook once, and when Disney supported the things, and I said, "Yay, Disney!" And all of a sudden I got attacked by people online saying, "Oh, she's a teacher. She's an elementary school teacher from New Mexico, and she's a pedophile." And there was all this other stuff, and then I looked at one of the icons, and I go, "Well, what do you expect?" She said, "What do you expect? She's from New Mexico." And then I backtracked and said, "What do you expect? They're from Nebraska." But then I deleted all my personal information off my Facebook page. But as a teacher, I just got a touch of what you guys face all the time, and my hat's off to you. But what can we do to fight the online attacks on people who just support you?
And can we give the last question
Okay.
two questions at once, and then
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna hold on to what I was.
that everybody gets to speak.
Gotta keep that ADHD in check.
I'm a little nervous.
Don't be nervous, you're fabulous.
Okay, so I was just gonna ask. There's this thing that I heard about a while back where kids were wanted to present as a different gender than they were born with, and some of them were just so depressed that they couldn't transition, that they just wanted to die, and I've heard a perspective that kids can't really make those kinds of decisions until they're older because they're not fully developed, and they might change their mind later on, and it's better just to wait. Whereas some have said that it's their choice and they need to make those kinds of decisions because it's healthy. What is your perspective on it?
My perspective is that expression is healthy. And yeah, but
I don't think this are lightning round.
This is the thing about this that people love to push, is they're like, oh, they're transitioning and they're underage and they're hacking their bodies up. Okay, that's not happening. No people underage are having surgeries. No people underage are having hormone therapy. Stop freaking, am I allowed, who's under 18? Can I curse?
Yes.
Oh, balls, okay.
No, I'm not under 18.
Stop the lies. Stop the lies. To answer your question, what can you do to be supportive when you post something like, yeah, Disney, do this, and they're like, wah, you're this, that, and the other. Respond with links to where Republican senators have been arrested for having child pornography. Respond with links to where the good church-going father from the nuclear family was caught driving across state lines to hook up with the 15-year-old and was caught in a sting operation. Educate them and let them know that the narrative they are presenting is false.
Say whatever you want.
Okay.
Just very brief, 10 seconds. Parting comments to the audience.
Go fight, win, keep the faith, keep your chin up, and for the love of God, don't let anyone dim your light.
Support the youth, let them try things. Let them them try things, the way you said, like, you know, expression, like, if they want to do something, if they want to try on heels for a day, let them find out how painful they are themselves. Why even stop them? Let them do it.
Say, just express yourself. I experiment, play with clothing. Buy guys' clothes, they have pockets.
Buy women's clothes, you have to carry a purse. There are no pockets.
Carry a purse.
Carry a purse.
I have purse.
Jen, you got the last word.
Okay. I think it's really important for us on the planet to understand each other. Please don't end your life.
Thank you for attending this panel. The next panel is Defending Comics Day of Comic Book Defense Month, and we'll also be handing out our wristbands for our Rainy Telgemeier signing author drama on Sunday. We'll have the wristbands next panel, and for the signing on Sunday. Thank you so much, and thank you to our panelists.
I am going to be your host for this panel today. I am the internationally ignored cosplayer Chad Hatter. Thank you, the two of you who clapped. I apologize for not being in drag today. I was going to come as the Trunchbull from Matilda, but due to a series of events having nothing whatsoever to do with me, the costume is not available, so you're just stuck with this. But also, the panel is not about me. The panel is about these gorgeous creatures who braved the heat and the humidity and the drive from Los Angeles to be here today. So, Mama, at the end, while we wait for your placard, if you would like to start and everyone work your way down and introduce yourselves, we can get the ball rolling, as it were.
Do you want like anything? Just my name? Or do you want just my name? Or?
No, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone, my name is Mama Saint Mermaid. I suffer from a low self-esteem and a God complex. I'm from Long Beach, California. I like long walks on the beach, and yeah, that's about it. Hi.
My name is Pam Demic, and I am a 67-year-old drag queen.
Hi everyone, my name is April Showers, and I like to go by SoCal's tiniest little raindrop, April Showers.
Hello everyone, my name is Miss Claire Voyance, and I'm everyone's favorite off Broadway star. And I did not think about it when choosing a character that I would be speaking while wearing fake teeth. So we're just gonna go on this adventure together.
And my name is Leeko Rae, and I'm the largest drag queen in captivity. I
wait a little bit because Willy Wonka is on their way in. Hi, Willy, love your work. Big fan of your chocolate. Not that I'm calling out the stragglers or anything. I know you! I'm so sorry. Sorry, my friend Whitney is out, and that's not normal because she hates everyone. So who here was at our panel at WonderCon? 1, 2, 3. Okay, cool. Since it's less than 10, that means I get to use repeat information. Because I didn't prepare. But I also did not want to prepare because I wanted today to be an opportunity to just kind of literally hang out and just kind of talk and not be so regimented in uniform, even though they put us in a panel room that is the furthest side of Christendom I've ever seen in my life. I did not know that this part of the hotel existed. But I've already spoken too much. So, cosplay is a drag, right? Okay, cool. You're born naked, everything else is costume design. RuPaul can eat it. So, when we did this panel before, one of the questions that we kind of discussed a little bit, Leeko, I'm so sorry, you're huge. I can't see around you. Thank you, okay. One of the things we talked about last time when we did this was what got you into drag. Because the real question is, are people born drag queens, or do they have drag thrust upon them? Did you get it? Okay. So, Leeko, now we'll start at this end. I would like to know, please tell the kids at home, how did you get going in drag and, that sort of thing?
Sure. Well, I think it mostly starts kind of like escapism, like as a child, right? So I remember being very young, and oh, we got it. And as a child, right, you're kind of like playing in this like make-believe world. And so my grandfather is in the military, and he had these green military blankets. I used to sit on the couch and I would wrap my legs up and pretend that I was like Ariel, right? Which she was a big fan of. And I would sit there and I would dance around and like live in that fantasy. And so as I kind of got older, I was introduced to Drag Race and RuPaul, and I was like, oh, this is a thing that I can do with my body. I can turn myself into these kind of like fantasy characters, and people will give me money for it. Oh, hell yeah, I'm gonna start doing this, right? So that's kind of for me where it started, was that like playtime as a child and then extending that into an adult.
I love the idea of monetizing it because I just do it for attention. And I recognize that. Claire, how about you, darling?
Oh, it's Winifred.
Okay.
It starts and ends with her. God, I mean, for little gay people growing up, I think Hocus Pocus is one of those films where you can't put your finger on it, but you're watching it and going, what is happening? Like something is, there is something happening in my brain where I'm rooting for these witches to win. And so I have my earliest memories being put in the blanket on the living room couch, wrapping it around me as my cape and dancing to I Put a Spell on You while the VHS is blaring after school. And, I just kept that going until I could afford the real full accoutrement.
And you look fabulous, too. The cape is great, the robe is great. I don't know who made it. Shut up, Whitney!
It wasn't until college that I actually kind of put the pieces together and realized, oh, drag is something that can actually be a physical, tangible thing that someone can do. It's not just make-believe. It's not something that you can sort of like, oh, I'm just going to think these thoughts very quietly in my room with the door closed. No, I can express out loud. And I did a production of Le Cajafol in college where I was put in drag, and I said, oh God, well, this is going to be a huge problem for me for the rest of my life. And so I let it.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about, but I was born a drag queen. And I'm going to be laid to rest as a drag queen too. No, just kidding. Okay. For me, growing up, I always knew I was going to be a performer. I just didn't know what that was. I was also very feminine as a child and as a preteen, as a teenager. I used to take my sister's quinceañera dress and twirl around my bedroom with my bedroom door locked. So I knew I was going to do something in the entertainment world. I just didn't know what that was going to be. And then, obviously, RuPaul's Drag Race came on TV. Like, how long has it been now? Long time. Yeah, long enough.
Long enough.
I said, ooh, now's my moment. So, put on a wig, put on a heel, went to the club and said, now I'm going to do drag. And here we are, 12 years later, hosting and producing productions.
Picture this. Torrance, California, 1963. I remember that this is my first experience with cross-dressing or drag. I used to have this dirty white bathrobe that I used to prance around the house in as a young kid. And I thought that it was a Pope suit. And I also had some kind of a white something on my head, I'm not sure what, it was some rag or something. And I went to school and I said to the teacher, you know, I have a Pope suit. It was a Catholic school. I have a Pope suit, and I'd love to wear it tomorrow to school to show the other kids. And she said, oh, that would be so great. Why don't you do that? So I went home and I said to my mom, I was so excited, wearing a Pope suit to school. And I said, Mom, the teacher wants me to wear my Pope suit to school tomorrow. I'm so excited. She said, you are not wearing that dirty white bathrobe to school and call it a Pope suit. So what she did is she took a white bed sheet, and that night she sewed me the best Pope suit I've ever seen. And that's my first experience with cross-dressing.
Hi, it's me again. So the question was, are people born a drag queen, or do they have drag queen thrust upon them? I have a theory that my mother fully was trying to breed me to be a drag queen. I am sorry, I should not have been 3 years old watching the Birdcage, the First Wives Club, Tu Wong Fu. Like, I would be in kindergarten, and I would go, stop chewing your gum, honey. Like, should not have been happening. And I had this weird obsession, not weird obsession, I was obsessed with Cinderella and the Wizard of Oz. So I was 3 years old, and my mom got me a pair of ruby slippers and a pair of silver slippers, which I was pissed off weren't glass, but I got over it. Yeah, I was pretty much raised to be a drag queen. I wouldn't get like video games or anything when I was younger. My mother gave me a budget when it came to costumes for the year. Like, she would say, you're only allowed $300 for Halloween, that's it.
I'm sorry, is she currently adopting by chance? That is a great budget.
Oh yeah, so yeah, I in my first experience actually cross-dressing was I was in a community theater production of Pageant, the musical, if anyone knows that. It's a musical about the pageant system, but it's supposed to be satire, it's all men in dresses, and it's supposed to be, you're listening to exact words that are told to competitors in pageants, and you're like, oh, it's funny because it's drag queens, but then you look and you're like, oh wait, they actually say this stuff during pageants. So that's what got me started in drag.
I think it's I just want to point out that it's wonderful that it starts in childhood, because there are a lot of people who, out in the world, who would say that this is something that happens later in life, and it's like, no. When I saw Leslie Ann Warren in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella when I was a child, because I didn't grow up with the Brandy version, I converted later, proudly. I too grabbed a bed sheet and put it around my waist, and I was swishing around the living room floor, and my dad in the corner opening a beer, being like, awesome.
Well, yes.